Sweet.
Jack Jenkins. Jack Jenkins, good to have you on. First time. Been wanting to get you on for a minute because you have been fighting for Hex for the last couple of years, you know, working yourself up, and now you got this huge opportunity for Eternal for the featherweight championship. A lot of people might not know, but there have been fights that you've been lined up with Eternal, and then they pull out, but now you're making your promotional debut for the title, so it all works out at the end.
Yeah, 100%. It was it's been really tough for me. I had a bit of a knee injury at the end of last year. I tore my MCL, and then I worked really hard on the rehab, and since I've been back ready to go, I've had 4 fights fall through since December. So it's been hard to sort of stay focused and stay on the line, but you know, I've got good people around me, and I tried to just keep focused, and everyone said something will come through, and I'm really glad I stayed ready and fit, because when Ben and Cam got in contact with us and said, hey, there's an opportunity to fight for the title, we just jumped at it because I'm fit and ready anyway. Was
that already in your mind when you heard that Ryan had pulled out? Actually, the news didn't come out, when they actually got you on board.
Anyway. Yeah, I've got a good relationship with Ben, Ben from Eternal, and I think, you know, when he got whispers, he just sort of let me know. He said, look, on the down low, you know, something might be coming up soon for you, so just, you know, be ready and that sort of thing. And then, yeah, so when it came through, it was just like par for the course. It was time to go.
So training-wise, you know what I mean? Like, have you just been training since your last fight all the way through?
Yeah, training right through. Up until I had my, I injured my knee, I was training right through. And then I sort of had to have like 3 weeks off training completely where I couldn't do anything except strength work. And then after that 3 weeks, just straight back to it. And it's probably been the most improvement I've had in sort of a 2 or 3 month period ever over the course of my career, I reckon.
It allows you to focus on other parts of your game or other parts of your training, right? And you, in that part, you don't usually neglect, but you can neglect it because of the injury, probably.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. You can't neglect that sort of stuff. And it makes you be a bit more cerebral with what you're doing too. You can't just walk into the gym and go flat knacker all the time. You have to sort of stop and think about what you can improve day to day without, you know, tearing up the body.
All right. Well, looking back at your career, you know, you started off right out the gate, 3 wins in a row, spectacular wins. Then you dropped the next 2. When you go on a losing streak, you know, at the beginning of your career, so a lot of guys can't get out of that funk, you know what I mean? But you got out of that funk. You got 2 more wins in a row. How did you get over those losses and knock those next 2 out so easily?
I think I just you know, those 2 losses came at probably a good time for me, because I'd only been training as an MMA guy for probably 3 or 4 months before my pro debut, and going hard for those first 3, and then, you know, you sort of think, you start to not necessarily believe the hype, but you sort of start hearing things like, oh, he's the next big thing. And obviously with the caliber of people I train with, I knew I had the ability to do well. But it was a really good wake-up call for me to first lose to Jesse, who's like a veteran in Australia. He's fought everyone, and he's beaten so many good guys. That was the first one. But then, you know, you can kind of take that in your stride and go, oh, I just made a mistake, because I was winning the first round and probably winning the majority of the second round before I got caught in that fight too. But the second one was the one that really hit me, because I think I was a lot better than that guy, but I just didn't show up to the fight. I wasn't there at all. And on that night, he was just so much better than me that I don't think I was going to win. So it was a good chance to go back to the drawing board and figure out how can I get the version of me that shows up to training day in and day out to show up to the cage. And we worked on that for a long time. It was like a lot of competitions, a lot of jiu-jitsu. I went back to, you know, I'm a kickboxer originally. I went back and had a kickboxing fight with my coach, just to try and get back to what I do well. And that seemed to work. And then we've come out in the next 2 and gone 2-0, and both pretty impressively. I had a couple of 30-25 scorecards in my first fight. And then my second one, I finished the Japanese fellow in the first round. So it's been good.
In the past, you've trained with Callum Potter and Dan Kelly, and I've seen them in your corner. But when did you decide to make the switch to Absolute?
So the way it happens is the way Dad's Army works, and Callan and Dan and all those guys work, is they do a few sessions of the week together, And then everyone sort of bounces out to their own gym. So like Callan fights for, Resilience and his other gym, Renegade. Jake Matthews fights for Australian Elite Team and Resilience. Jimmy Crute fights for Sam Greco's and Resilience as well. So we all do our sparring and stuff together, but then everyone bounces out to their own to sort of, learn more, and then we bring it back to the group together, which has worked out great for everyone. But where I'm from out in the country a little bit, not in Melbourne. My gym, Metamorphica, which I coach at now, I'm not training there anymore, but I coach there. I just didn't have any training partners at my weight. So the time I spent away from Resilience, I just wasn't getting the work that I needed to have. So the opportunity came up to go to Absolute, and they've got such good dominant guys there at that 135, 145 weight class. It was just a really good opportunity to go work with them. And I originally went to Thailand, and then due to some circumstances ended up coming back, and I just decided to stick with Absolute. So I'm still training at Resilience with that crew like Dan and Jimmy and Cal, and I take a lot of I take a lot of lead from those guys in terms of my training, and they help me out a lot. But that other end where everyone sort of goes and does their own thing, I'm doing that at Absolute now, and that's been really, really good for me.
Absolute. I see that you went there to Thailand last summer. How was that trip?
Yeah, it was good. It was bittersweet. I went over there, and at the same time we took my homie Sai Liafa. He came over with me, and we were sharing we were sharing a room together. He'd been my number one sparring partner, pretty much my whole career. And then I flew home for my fight against the Japanese guy, and when I fought on the Friday night, and on the Sunday Sai had his fight in Thailand where he ended up losing and took some shots that gave him a brain bleed, and he's in a coma still in Thailand. So I found it hard to go back. I did go back after that and did another sort of 6 weeks there, but I found it hard to stay there after that. Just it was hard going back into the room that Sai and I shared and that sort of thing. I just wasn't. I wanted to come back and be around my people and our friends and that sort of thing. So decided to come back.
What is the update with him?
So we've booked the flights have been booked for him to get brought back to Melbourne on the 10th of March. Unfortunately, well, we're lucky and unlucky. We're lucky in the fact that Simon from Absolute and a few other people involved have managed to come up with the money up front, the 55 grand to get him brought home. But that's left them pretty heavy in the red. So we're just trying to raise money to get that to help get that back. And then, if we make any extra or anything like that, then it's just going to be going towards size rehab and all that sort of stuff. But the only update medically I can give at the moment is that, we're just hopefully when he gets back here on the 10th of March that the Western doctors can give us a bit more hope and a bit more clarity onto what's actually going to be the prognosis for him long term.
Where can people go to maybe even donate, or is there a GoFundMe or something?
Yeah, there's a GoFundMe. It's just Bring Sai Home. That's the GoFundMe, and there's actually a website being set up with all the links there. We're doing a couple of like amateur MMA fundraisers and amateur kickboxing events and that sort of thing. And like people like Jimmy and Dan and Ben Sassoli and that, they're all going to be auctioning off private lessons and that sort of thing for so every little bit helps, I suppose, to help with the costs of everything associated with getting him home.
Definitely. Well, that's a sad situation, but hopefully he gets back and he gets the surgery and he gets better. A lot of people support him, and I spoke to Ben maybe about a month ago, and he was talking about it also. So I think any little bit, if someone could help any little bit, can go towards getting him back to normal. Now, going back to, your training, you're at Absolute. I know Raja's there. I know Raja pretty well. He's an animal. Who are the other guys that are training with over there?
So we got myself, Raja. We got Sem Kikembo. Sem Kikembo, he's still an amateur, but like nothing he does is amateur. Like he treats his training, his preparation, the way he spars, the way he does everything. He's a professional, and he's making his pro debut for his next fight. So we got Sam. He's one to look out for, definitely. Then we've got Sam Hibbard. So
okay.
that's 4 of us already at that high level, around the 135, 145 weight class. And then we just got a bunch of amateur guys who are all, you know, on that cusp of amateur going pro. And then at the higher weight classes, we've got like Lyle Karam, who's fighting for a big belt back in South Africa the week after my fight. Jake Hyon fighting on Risen. He's been killing it at the moment. So there's definitely lots of talent getting around the gym. And it's just hard to walk into any class or any session without someone who's a real specialist at what they do being there. You know, we got Lockie Giles around and those big jiu-jitsu names who are also there helping out whenever we can.
Yeah, man, it's just incredible you guys have built.
Built,
you know, over there at Absolute. You know, Jake, also another guy I know really well. Yeah, he's killing it in Japan, and Raja, wherever he lands, he's gonna kill it too. Now, you have a title fight coming up, Diego Pereira. Has he been on the radar for you?
Yeah, definitely. Everyone in this sort of the sort of top bracket of that 145 division in Australia is in my bracket. I was really impressed with his fight with Tobin. He was really relaxed and composed, and he did his job exceptionally well in that fight. I thought. I just think I pose a few more threats than Tobin does, you know, on the feet, and I have a few more tricks to get inside. But yeah, can't take anything away from him. He's looked really good in his last few fights, and I think it's going to be a cracker, a really good fight.
Yeah, definitely, man. I completely agree. Now, you have a couple weeks to prepare for Diego. Is that normal for you for a fight? You just a couple weeks, that's fine?
It's yes and no. Like, I've had fights come through short notice before, like the Naoya, who I fought in my last fight. He was on like 10 days notice. That was a really short one because I had my opponent pull out. And when I fought the Korean fellow Sangwon Kim, that was on about 10 days notice too. So I've done it before. This one's actually a little bit more notice than usual. And it's actually handy because he's from the region. You know, anyone sort of in that top 10 of the region I've had a look at before, and I've sort of, you know, got a bit of a mental plan for how to go about it. And because a few of my, one of my training partners has already fought him, Sam Hibbard, had a good fight with him, which was a split decision. I thought it was, I thought that could have actually gone Sam's way in that fight. So I've got good insight into what he does well and where there's a few openings and that sort of thing.
Definitely, man. Yeah, Sam is going to be a big benefit for you to get ready for Diego. How do you see this fight playing out, man? I'm pretty sure you see yourself having that strap wrapped around your waist, but how is that going to happen?
I think I'm going to finish him sort of late second, early third round. You know, I think it's just going to be a battle for the distance in the center of the cage early on, because he likes to walk forward and back people up. And if you've watched any of my fights, that's all I do, walk forward and back people up. So, you know, when we go into them and we meet in the middle, it's just going to be who can establish that range first. And, you know, me personally working with Raja recently and my striking coach, Andy Colgrave, I've really started to find a rhythm with that range in the small gloves. So I think I'm going to establish the rhythm early, and then I can put the pace on. So from there, it's just going to be walking forward, slipping shots, landing my own clean shots, and going in for the kill when it presents itself.
Could we see a spinning elbow knockout? You know, Raja's famous for those.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's one of those things that the spinning elbow kind of gets like taken away a little bit. You know, it gets downplayed a little bit, but Raja drills that stuff. Like we practice it, we set it up, you know, we do all that sort of stuff. So it's definitely going to be there. It's actually funny because that last fight put me in a tough spot because I'd just sort of gone over to Absolute, and Michael Barber, who Raja was fighting, was, you know, my main sparring partner. So kind of we had to draw a line in the sand and be like, yo, what's the go here? And just out of respect for both of them, I just said, look, I'm going to do all my stuff out with Barber and the boys at Resilience for this one, and then we'll hook up again there. And, you know, there was no hard feelings between me and Raja for that one. But now that fight's over, we've been training together flat out, and we actually both sleep at the gym together during the week, Raja and I. So he's actually turned into, you know, a really good friend of mine, and I'm really lucky for him to be passing down that striking knowledge down the line.
Definitely, he's deep, man. He's trained with some of the craziest, most savage athletes, fighters, what do you want to call it, around the world. So
yeah,
great person to have.
He's got some stories, man.
All right, man. Well, your story is gonna continue, man. March 7th, Eternal MMA
Yep.
52, Gold Coast, Australia, featherweight championship, man. It's gonna be crazy. Good luck on
Yeah,
the
bro.
fight, man. Good luck on everything that you're doing in your life outside the cage, and enjoy the fight, man. Have fun.
Thank you very much for your time, bro. I appreciate it. I'll have a chat to you after it's all done.